Breaking news tonight, staggering numbers out of Florida. More than 15,000 COVID cases confirmed in just one day.
In Miami-Dade, hospitals are at 94% ICU capacity, with the mayor confirming 6 are now full. If the Sunshine State were its own country, it would rank 4th highest in the world for new COVID cases.
In Texas, confirmed cases continue to climb. Nearly 6,000 reported today. Hard-hit Michigan now seeing an uptick in cases after hundreds attended July 4th lake parties.
And we've seen the stunning images of testing lines stretching for miles. Thousands waiting weeks for results in Arizona. Some labs facing a 30-day backlog. 13 states are reporting testing problems.
So with the whole world banking on the development of a vaccine, what does it really take to create one? And when are we expecting one to come out? Welcome to World's Healthiest. Today's video is how long will the COVID-19 vaccine take? In order to answer this question, you must first understand how is a vaccine made, and what is the process and how long does each process take? Well, the process of developing a vaccine starts at the research stage. Before any test can be done on animals or humans, the proper components to a vaccine must be created in a lab. And if the results from the laboratory are promising, then it can go through the testing phase. First, the vaccine is tested on animals, and if a vaccine is safe on animals, and studies show that it is safe to test on humans, then clinical trials with humans can be performed. Then after all the testing is done, the drug can then go through the last phase of manufacturing and shipping the vaccine out to the people. Throughout this entire phase of creating a vaccine, the most time-consuming part is without a doubt the testing portion, specifically the part that involves human testings, or what they call clinical trials. Clinical trials are tests that checks the effectiveness and safety of a vaccine on humans, and like all tests performed on humans, the vaccine must go through the highest level of scrutiny. Not only does it have to be effective, the vaccine must also be safe for humans to use. These tests are ultimately what make or break a vaccine. Because even if the components look promising in the lab and works on animals, if it isn't effective on humans or creates something harmful, then everything goes down the bin, and you have to go back to the drawing board. Clinical trials can be broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1 of clinical trials focus on the dosage of the vaccine. This is usually performed on 20 to 50 healthy volunteers to see if they have any side effects to the vaccine and whether or not we can proceed with human testing. Phase 2 involves around 100 volunteers, and they test whether or not the vaccine is effective and at what dosage will it create an immune response. Phase 3 is the last phase of clinical trials and usually requires a longer period because it involves more people. About hundreds to thousands of volunteers participate, and the placebo groups are set up so researchers can test the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. Normally, under normal circumstances, this process from research development to testing to manufacturing takes many years. At the bare minimum, we're talking 5 to 8 years. However, this is a global pandemic that we are facing. So labs and companies from all over the world are pouring their resources to come up with a vaccine quickly. In fact, research is advancing all over the world, including 23 substances are already being tested on humans, in sites mainly centered in US, Europe, and China. In total, scientists are now investigating over 150 different vaccines candidates. This race to the finish strategy is what exactly will help expedite this process. Time is of the essence, and drastic time requires drastic measures. Therefore, a lot of the phases that we just talked about, from phase 1 to phase 3, these can all be done simultaneously along with manufacturing. This can eliminate steps that are overlapping and shorten the overall time. While running all these tests and manufacturing at the same time may speed things up, a lot of it requires constant communication between companies, clinical trial sites and factories. What's more, if the vaccine fails, a lot, and I mean a lot of money will be wasted. These are all unnecessary costs to pay when you want a vaccine at an earlier time frame. So now that we have a grasp of how vaccines are made and a clear understanding of what clinical trials are, we can now check out what other companies are doing and see what they're at in terms of their vaccine development. Let's start by analyzing some of the leading companies in the world on developing COVID-19 vaccines. The first company we have on the list, AstraZeneca from the UK. They became a frontrunner in coronavirus development when it was licensed to work with the University of Oxford. In fact, it was one of the first COVID-19 vaccines to enter clinical trials. They entered phase 1 in late April and have promising results that just came out on July 20th. It is now looking at starting a late-stage clinical trial in Brazil and South Africa soon. So if everything goes according to their plan, the first supply should be available in the UK in late September, and the first supply should be available in the US by October. Moving on to the next company on our list, perhaps the most famous one of the bunch, Moderna, earned its place as one of the top dogs in supplying a vaccine. Moderna is based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in the US as one of the first companies making a move on a vaccine against COVID-19. They pushed early into clinical trials, dosing their first patient at Kaiser Permanente Health Research Institute on March 16th. They are now in the middle of their phase 2 trial, and early results of phase 2 just came out on July 14th, and it is looking good. They are projecting to start a phase 3 study with over 30,000 patients on July 27th, making this company one of the best hopes for a vaccine. They are projecting to have a vaccine earliest by October and the latest by the end of this year. Moderna isn't the only US company that is looking promising. Drumroll please. Yes, we most definitely have to talk about Pfizer, the US pharma giant who teamed up with BioNTech to push their new technology to speed up the vaccine development process. Further data from earlier tests are also coming in soon. They are scheduled to start the late stage of clinical trials by the end of the month. And if things go well, according to the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, they're looking at supplying the first batch of vaccine by the end of October. Now there is no guarantee that the first successful vaccine will come from the US or Europe. A lot can happen between phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials. However, China's CanSino Biologics has started human testing right around the same time Moderna started testing. In fact, it might be the furthest one along in this list in terms of clinical trials. While there is still a lot of information that is unclear about this company, one thing is for certain. The Chinese government has already announced its phase 2 vaccine to be used on the country's military. Yes, you heard that right. The vaccine in phase 2 clinical trials is already being used on the country's military. Now, the implications of that, I'm not sure. Whether this is a good decision or a bad decision, we'll just have to wait and see. But let's continue down the list of companies that we have. Let's not forget about the honorable mentions, Johnson & Johnson's in the US. While the pharma giant may have a late start on this race, they are not intending to be first place. In fact, they are looking at creating the most affordable option for the public. They are projecting to have their first supply of vaccines out by January 2021. Next up in our honorable mentions, Sanofi and GlaxoSmithKline, or GSK for short. Two pharma giants based in Europe are teaming up to come up with a more potent vaccine, and they are also projecting a similar timetable in January 2021. Here is a timetable of what these leading companies are doing, and here is their projected date of supplying vaccines if everything goes according to their plan. So far, the US, Europe, and China are looking to be the best in shape amongst the other 23 candidates in human testing. So it could be anyone's game. We're looking at a time frame of late September to October in the UK, following by October at the earliest to next year January in the US, and China will follow up shortly sometime in the fall. But as they always say in science, if you're not first, you're last. So these companies are coming up with different strategies to finish testing ASAP. Due to a large number of people in the world needing vaccines, when these vaccines are first developed, they may not have a large enough supply to mass produce the vaccine and send them to everyone all over the world. Instead, vaccine supply may start at a regional level and then move on to a country level and eventually expand to the global level. So depending on the area that you live and which company is closer to you, you may have access to the vaccine at an earlier or later time frame. Thanks for watching. If you find this video helpful, leave a comment down below and smash that like button. For more health related content on World's Healthiest, subscribe now.